During the last 4 years, LCI has grown rapidly here in Sydney. And during that time, we've had some amazing people come and work for us. Today, we're going to meet one of those people, and he's going to take us around and show some of the innovative projects that he's worked on during his career. And I'm going to show him some of mine. And that person is Matt Williams.
We're off then.
Let's go.
All right, let's do this.
Do you know, from Barangaroo Headland, you can actually get a vista of all these different projects that we've both been involved in.
It's amazing, isn't it? So it's such an exciting part of town for me. I've been involved in so many projects down here. It's interesting, the bond over on the left there, I saw the plans back in London for that and I didn't realise what building it was going to be. And it was the first chill beam installation in Australia.
It was. I remember everybody was really concerned that those chill beams were going to sweat.
Yeah.
And everybody was saying it'll never work. And of course it did work, and with flying colours as well.
And there was a lot of sensitivity about the shading, and it's got some operable elements to the facade. So people were worried about humidity getting in there. So,
And Barangaroo Towers, were you involved in that?
yeah, I was involved in those, yes. The sustainability aspirations on those buildings are incredible. They were carbon neutral precinct, neighbours 5-star plus 30% back then. They didn't
Wow.
even have the extra half stars.
Yeah.
Just amazing feats of engineering, the recycled water down there.
And of course it uses harbour heat rejection too, does it not?
Yeah, it does, and it was that was a really interesting process as well because it uses direct heat exchange with the chillers.
Yeah, we were involved on the Maritime Museum down there, and you can see it at the end of the bay there. And they had an issue after it was commissioned that they had a lot of mussels building up inside the pipework, and it would clog the pipework so that you didn't get enough water through for cooling. And so what they did is they provide some biocide in there, so it would eject at the same time of the day. This biocide, and then the mussels would die and then it would work again for a while. But what they found is that after a period of time, is that the mussels, even though they're the lowest form of living life form, they figured out at the time of the day they should close up.
It's
So
incredible.
they started to grow.
It's incredible.
So they had to put it,
prevail.
yeah, indeed. And they actually had to put it on a random number generator to open up at different times of the day.
Wow, that's
But the
amazing.
maintenance costs are quite significant. And interestingly enough, we've just recently decommissioned the harbour heat rejection system for the museum and put in a cooling tower system. And the feedback we've had is over the last year that their reduction in energy consumption is about 15%.
It's not always the kind of the best option. It seems like an obvious option, but it takes a lot of work. I remember when we worked together on the convention centre precinct down there, there was talk at one point about whether they could revive a harbour heat rejection connection that was down there.
Yeah.
And I remember us doing all the numbers and really backing ourselves that it wasn't the right answer. That having a really efficient central plant with cooling towers was going to be the best outcome.
Yeah. Of course, we worked on that together, didn't we? When that was a lead project.
One of the first big lead projects in Australia.
Yeah.
And really comparable with other kind of global buildings of its kind, I guess, which the precinct has a Green Star rating as well. So there's elements of Green Star down there.
Yeah.
But LEED was a good sort of rating for our client. And it just goes to show that there's lots of different ratings out there and you've got to pick the right one for the job. And the one that really aligns with client values.
Yeah. Interesting, what you can see from here too is Wharf 7, which is also owned or leased by the National Maritime Museum. On the roof of that just recently, we put about 140 kilowatts of PV.
Oh, wow.
But what's interesting there, it's actually lightweight PV. And they're only around about 4 or 5 kilograms per square metre, whereas the standard PV is around about 20 kilograms. And that actually helps pay for nearly all of that Wharf 7 energy that they've got there.
So PV on a lightweight like heritage roof.
Yeah, that's right. And it's
incredible.
actually just adhered to it as well. So it's not actually, there's no penetrations into the roof. And of course, we've also got the crane, and that's one of the first jobs that LCI did when we opened up our Sydney office here.
Oh, amazing.
It's, no pun intended, but a crowning achievement for LCI here in Sydney.
It's huge, isn't it? Just from wherever you are in the city, you can see it. It's so big. I think it's good for Sydney to have such a different, bold building. I reckon there'll be a lot more buildings that will be able. This will set a precedence for, I think, for a lot more interesting architecture in the city. Do you remember I worked on 420 George Street back in 2010 or something like that, and it was when there was a lot of sandstone on facades. It was just coming in, and that was kind of a really nice look for a lot of Sydney buildings.
It's such a fantastic material, sandstone. And of course, here at Barangaroo Headland, you can actually see all of this sandstone, which has been quarried out of the hill here. And interestingly enough, the hole that it made was used to store water for the rainwater.
Oh, wow.
And so that was part of their sustainability strategy, to re-establish all of the headland, the rocks and the fauna and flora as well.
And the way that they cut the whole kind of wharf back here to create this cove that wasn't here before, and then placed all these sandstone elements. Did you know each one of them was digitally placed?
Wow.
So they had like a full 3D map. Every single stone has a serial number that they've used to place exactly where they intended to place it, and it's just come out. It looks fantastic.
And of course, just on the other side of the headland here, we have Walsh Bay Arts Centre too, which of course we're working on at the moment. And that also has a heat exchange system as well, but that's a closed system. That's quite interesting. So they've actually got closed pipes which run down the piers, and it exchanges with the water heat and then brings it back. So it's quite an efficient system, and it doesn't actually take water in itself. It's because it's a closed system.
Yeah.
And I understand for a lot of these open water systems, like the Barangaroo central energy system they've got there, that they have to keep the temperature difference less than 3 degrees, so that doesn't affect the environment. And of course, that's why you need more pumping energy. So that we don't have that, of course, on the Walsh Bay Arts Centre.
Yes. Well, they have the discharge into the bay here from the Barangaroo one has these special kind of induction nozzles that drag a lot of harbour water in to help create that local mixing that gets it down to 2 degrees. So there was a lot of CFD modelling that was done there just to prove the dissipation of heat. A lot of work with New South Wales Waterways, I think at the time it was called, to prove that.
What's that on top of the Westpac building up there?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That's actually a barometer.
All right.
So it was a piece of like artwork, I guess, that integrated into the building to the higher the pressure, the higher the bars go in the red lights.
Is that the pressure inside the building?
Yeah, maybe. So you can tell when the thunderstorm's coming because obviously it's going to push up off the top of the thing. It's an interesting building. That's one of my first jobs in Australia, actually.
Yeah. Interesting, just around the corner there, we've also got the Park Hyatt as well, and I was involved in that job where they have the function rooms. And of course, the function rooms, you need really good acoustics in those function rooms, very large spaces. And right outside was the Western Distributor. So what they had there is that also we had the fact that it was a Western facade as well. We had very large glass panels with views to the west over Darling Harbour. But we had a ventilated facade in there where we had double glazing, a 200mm facade with blinds, operable lines that came up and down and changed depending where the sun was, and then double glaze on the inside.
Oh, wow.
And so when you're actually standing inside, you can have semi-trailer trucks just around about 4 meters away from you, and you can't hear a thing.
Wow, that's incredible.
And it's quite an amazing building. And I was in there one day, and it was it must have been around about a 38-degree day outside, sun hitting the window, and you touched the inside of the window, and it was as cool as the inside space.
Oh, wow.
It was a really, really high-performing space.
Yeah.
Beautiful space, actually.
Amazing.
So we should go out and have a look at Parramatta.
Let's go check out Parramatta.
Okay.